Let me paint you a picture that might feel a little too familiar. You've got debt. Maybe it's a credit card, maybe it's a car loan, maybe it's a collection of both sitting on top of some student loans you've been quietly ignoring. And one day, you sit down, you do the math, and you think, okay, I'm going to fix this. So you find what looks like a clever solution. You move some numbers around, sign a few things, and for about 2 weeks, you feel like you've actually solved the problem. And then, slowly, somehow, you're right back where you started. Except this time, it feels worse, because you already tried. That cycle, that exhausting, demoralizing loop, is what this video is really about. Not just debt, but why the ways most people try to escape it actually keep them trapped. Here's the thing that most financial content gets completely wrong about debt. It treats debt like a math problem. Like if you just find the right interest rate, the right transfer, the right consolidation plan, the numbers will eventually balance out and you'll be free. But debt isn't a math problem. It's a behavior problem. Think about it. You already know, on some level, that spending more than you earn creates debt. That's not a secret. That's not hidden information. And yet, Americans are currently carrying over $1 trillion in credit card debt alone. That number isn't there because people don't understand arithmetic. It's there because knowing something and actually changing your habits around it are two completely different things. And nobody talks about that part. Nobody addresses the reason why smart, hardworking people end up in debt cycles that seem impossible to break. Instead, the financial world throws products and strategies at a behavioral problem, and then wonders why it keeps getting worse. So before we talk about what actually works, let's talk about the approaches that don't, and more importantly, why they don't. The first one sounds almost reasonable on the surface. You own a home, you've built up some equity, and someone tells you that you can borrow against that equity to wipe out your credit card balances in one clean move. Lower interest rate, one payment, problem solved. Except, your home isn't a financial tool to clean up consumer debt. Your home is the foundation of your long-term wealth. The equity you build there is supposed to compound over time. That's the whole point. The moment you start tapping into it to cover lifestyle debt, the kind that comes from restaurants, impulse purchases, subscriptions, things you bought to feel okay for a day, you're trading your future security for a present-day illusion of progress. And the behavior that created the debt in the first place. It's still completely untouched. You haven't solved anything. You've just moved it somewhere more dangerous. The second one follows the same logic, but hits even harder long-term. Borrowing from your retirement account, your 401k, the money you've been putting away slowly for years. That's supposed to be working for you through the power of compound growth. The moment you pull from it, you don't just lose that money temporarily. You lose every dollar that money would have grown into over the next 10, 20, 30 years. And in many cases, if you leave your job, you're required to pay it back almost immediately, which means what started as a debt solution can quickly become a financial emergency. And then there's the one that gets marketed almost like a cheat code, the 0% balance transfer. Move your debt to a new card, pay no interest for 12 to 18 months, and use that time to get ahead. In theory, it sounds clever. In practice, what most people do is feel relieved, relax their spending, and arrive at the end of that promotional period with the same debt, or more, and an interest rate that's now spiked to something painful. It's not a solution. It's a delay with a deadline. All three of these strategies share one thing in common. They treat the symptom, not the cause. They shuffle numbers around without ever asking the harder question: what's actually driving the spending? What's the behavior that needs to change? There are really only 3 mindsets that keep people stuck in debt, and they're worth naming. The first is the impulse to project a version of success you haven't actually built yet, spending in a way that looks like you've arrived before you have. The second is a kind of financial avoidance, where the fear of looking at your money becomes so uncomfortable that you just don't. And the third is a quiet, passive optimism. The idea that it'll somehow work itself out without a real plan behind it. None of these mindsets are signs that someone is irresponsible or unintelligent. They're deeply human, but they will keep you in debt indefinitely if they go unexamined. Here's the shift that changes everything. The moment you stop asking, how do I get rid of this debt mathematically, and start asking, what kind of person do I need to become to stay out of debt permanently? That's when real progress begins. Because debt freedom isn't just a financial outcome, it's a behavioral one. And when you understand that, the strategy you choose looks completely different. The approach that actually works isn't the most mathematically optimal one. It's the one that works with how human psychology actually operates. And that's the debt snowball method. You list your debts from smallest to largest balance, not by interest rate, not by which one stresses you out the most, smallest to largest. You make minimum payments on everything except the smallest one. And on that smallest one, you throw everything you can at it until it's gone. Why does this work when so many other approaches don't? Because of what happens in your brain when you pay off that first debt. It creates a real, tangible win, not a projected one. Not a theoretical one on a spreadsheet. An actual moment where you look at a number and it says 0. And that feeling, that sense of forward movement, is what keeps you going through the harder debts. You roll the payment from the first debt into the second, and the second into the third, and suddenly you have momentum. Real momentum. Mathematically, yes, paying the highest interest rate first saves you more money over time. That's real. But the vast majority of people who try that approach quit before they finish. Because the early wins never come. The psychology breaks down before the math pays off. So here's what this actually looks like in real life, stripped of any complexity. Write down every single debt you have, not in your head. On paper, on a spreadsheet, somewhere physical and visible. The act of seeing the full picture matters more than most people realize. Put the smallest balance at the top. Then, build what some people call a monthly money plan, which is really just a budget, but approached differently. Instead of tracking what you spend after the fact, you decide what every dollar is going to do before the month starts. Rent, groceries, utilities, minimum debt payments, and then whatever margin is left, you point it aggressively at that smallest balance. This is also where lifestyle temporarily has to shift. Not forever. Not dramatically, but for a period of time, some things come off the table. The dining out, the streaming services you barely use, the subscriptions that just auto-renew. You're not punishing yourself. You're creating breathing room. That margin is what gives the snowball its force. And when that first debt hits 0, actually celebrate it. Tell someone. Acknowledge it. This isn't trivial. It's reinforcing a new pattern in your brain. And that pattern is worth protecting. If you're sitting with debt right now, I want you to hear this. You are not behind because you're bad with money. You're behind because, like most people, nobody ever taught you that money is mostly a psychological game, not a mathematical one. The systems around you were designed to keep you borrowing. The culture around you made spending feel like belonging. And the financial advice available to most people never addressed the part that actually matters most, your behavior. But here's what's also true. The path out is simpler than you think. Not easy, but simple. One debt at a time. 1 month at a time. With a plan that actually respects how human beings stay motivated. You don't need to be perfect at this. You don't need to have it all figured out from day one. You just need to start, and then keep going. Progress, done consistently, beats a perfect strategy done inconsistently every single time. The numbers will follow the behavior. They always do. If this video helped you see debt a little differently, consider sharing it with someone who's quietly struggling with the same thing. Sometimes the most helpful thing we can do is remind someone they're not alone in it.